be talking about informed consent, and I'll look at it from the Egyptian perspective. And first, I would like to start with okay. I'll introduce myself. I'm actually I finished my bachelor's in medicine from Ain University in Cairo, and I'm currently doing a dual degrees master in American University in Cairo. I'm also working as a Director Coordinator, which is the Middle East Research Ethics Training Initiative. And I'm taking care of a website of Meretti, which is basically trying to look at the recent articles in the Middle East regarding research ethics. And we try to bring together the Middle Easterns and talk about research ethics and their experiences. This is a short outline. I'll first talk about Egypt and the background, and then I'm going to go through some principles of the informed consent, and then I'm going to give you a case study, and then it's going to be group work, so it's basically going to take place like the previous presentation. So we'll be divided into groups, and you'll be working, and then we'll have discussion, and then lastly, some of the results of my research. As you all know, 25th of January was a big date in the modern Egyptian history. We were able to outcast the Mubarak regime, which has been there in power for 30 years. Okay, and as Egyptians, we have a very high sense of humor, and it's like sort of sarcastic kind of sense of humor. So the funniest things you can observe when you're walking down Tahrir Square in the mass protest is you can see all the signs that the protesters have up, and you can see something like, we did not use any machines or machine guns, but we used Twitter and Facebook and the social media. We have sort of revolutionized the social media, and it helped us, you know, collect people, ask them to come down, and when we couldn't talk over the phone, the internet played a very important role for our revolution. And this was the Irish language, the one Mubarak and Louis. And there was another mass protest by physicians, and they want Mubarak to leave. Okay, these were medical students. And this is my picture with my sisters when we celebrated Mubarak's leaving power. Unfortunately, we thought we got rid of the regime, but actually we still have the Supreme Council of Armed Forces taking power in Egypt, and he's basically one of the old regime, and he's trying to steal the revolutions, but the Egyptian went down again, and we're asking them to leave in a peaceful manner as well. This is the map of Egypt. As you can see, this is the Western Desert, and this is the Eastern Desert, and this is the Red Sea. The thin line there is the Nile. It's all across Egypt. And then we have the Delta region up there. This is the Delta region where Cairo is located, and this is Upper Egypt, where is Aswan and Luxor. Okay? And the population in Egypt, according to 2009, 83 million people. So I'm expecting by now we're 85 or 87 million. The adult literacy rate is only 66%, and the female literacy rate is 59.4%. We have 22% of the population under the national poverty line, and this is different from the international poverty line. And I tried to find data on the international poverty, but I couldn't find on the internet. So I think this is another way of the ex-regime trying to, you know, play with the data statistically. We have, like in general, Egyptians are a homogeneous group, but we have, as a whole, we're all Egyptians, but we have Bedouins, both in the eastern and western deserts, and we have Nubians down in the south. And religions, we have 90% of the population are Muslims, 9% are Copts, and Copts is an Egyptian language, Old Pharaonic language, and it means Old Egyptian, but it has been somehow evolved into I don't want to call labeling, but calling the Orthodox Christians in Egypt as Copts. And then we have 1% of other types of Christianity, like Catholics or Protestants. This is the table showing the gross domestic product per capita. So it's 7,374 for 2010, according to the national currency, which is the Egyptian pound. And in 2011, I think this is an estimate, of course, it's 7,318. The ethical principle, I'm sure everyone knows that, but just to, we have to look at the respect for persons, and this is basically considering the autonomy of a person, how important, like, he made the decision for himself, and then we have beneficence, and if we cannot maintain that, then at least we should not have, like, we should have non-maleficence. And then the concept of justice. This is also an outline of how to take the informed consent process. It starts by disclosure of the research, making sure that the research participant understands this and appreciate the value of the research. He has the cognitive abilities to actually understand it, and he's completely voluntarily accepting this and then giving final consent. So this is the scenario we're going to discuss. Investigators are, I think, do you have a handout of the case study? Investigators are planning to perform a collaborative study involving the collection and storage of biological samples from patients with breast cancer and their female relatives. The objective of the study is to determine whether a specific genetic mutation exists in the Egyptian population. The plan is to collect biological tissues from women aged 19 to 49. It will be blood and tissue samples from women with breast cancer, as well as blood samples from female relatives. The biological samples will be transported to investigators in the US, where genetic analysis will be performed. The tissue samples will also be stored in the US for up to 5 years, for further investigations, which have not been identified in the proposal. The tissue and the blood samples will not contain identifying information, but will be coded so that future clinical information can be obtained. And the following regions in Egypt were targeted, as I showed you in the map: the Delta region, Upper Egypt, Nubians, and Bedouins in Siwa. Siwa is the Western Desert, and Sinai Eastern. Both illiteracy and poverty rates are very high in the targeted population, where on average 70% of the women do not know how to read or write, and 40% live under the national poverty line. The Research Ethics Committee from the US and the Egyptian universities have both reviewed and approved the proposal. An informed consent was developed, which was 15 pages long and translated to Arabic. The daily affairs of the rural communities are usually governed by a tribal chief and a council of elders. The investigators approach village leaders